Andrew Gonzales, PPA, Week 2 Discussion Board, September 7th, 2024. The following is an agenda for the presentation, starting with Woodrow Wilson, the study of administration. Number 2, Frederick Taylor, scientific management. 3, Max Weber for bureaucracy. And 4, Mary Park Follett, the giving of orders. Number 1, Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was quite frankly the godfather of administration, or public administration. He emphasized a number of facets within the study of administration. He looked at the separation of politics and administration and seeing the importance to be able to keep those two different things apart and keep them insulated. Also looked at the efficiency in government and operations. He also advised or looked at best practices, a better way of doing things for city government. He also Wilson advocated for development of professional and civil service. One poignant quote that came out from my reading was on page 37, one that stipulates that the functions of government are every day becoming more complex and difficult. They're also vastly multiplying in number. Administration is everywhere putting its hands to new undertakings. Then it goes on to say, this is why there should be science of administration, which shall seek to straighten the paths of government, to make it business less unbusinesslike, to strengthen and purify its organization, and to crown its dutifulness. This is one reason why here is such science. He also said something that was very poignant as well, and said that it's getting harder to run a constitution than to frame one. Wilson's philosophy can be applied in California. Last year in 2023, there were 54 housing bills that were passed. Administering that number of bills has been overwhelming for local governments, especially trying to figure out how to administer it, since those legislation or those bills have never provided any type of means or mechanisms to show how they apply. Frederick W. Taylor. Taylor argues his scientific management philosophy for administration. Taylor argues that through his principles, or 4 key principles, he's able to achieve efficiency, within the management style. He uses science to break down tasks into the lowest common denominator, so that institutional knowledge is able to remain and to be passed on from one individual to the next individual should that person decide to leave. It promotes maximum efficiency, cooperation, as well as minimizes opposition, or one would say it creates more harmony. He does identify a quote that was very poignant. He says, invariably, we find very great opposition on the part of those of the management side to do their new duties, and comparatively little opposition on the part of the workmen to cooperate in doing their new duties, so that the word bringing applies much more forcibly to those on the management side than the workman side. This has been seen in my tenure at other organizations, where I have seen new philosophies and new changes occur, where the lower staff falls into line, and you do see a lot of pushback from management. A semblance of scientific management can be found in organizations, such as in the city of Placentia. I'm using the business license process in order to kind of break down tasks in terms of being able to achieve and establish a business within the community. It goes from the planning division's review to determine zoning compliance, the building division to determine if there's any work that has been performed within the unit or new building and make sure it's code compliant. There'll be a building inspection, business license will come in, and then at the very end, the planning division will finally approve the project, breaking tasks down by their specific expertise. Max Weber. Max Weber discusses what is identified as bureaucratic authority. He breaks it down into 4 different parts. He speaks to the fact of hierarchy, where there's basically a hierarchy of tiers, or hierarchy of higher offers ordered in a structured manner, where there's super and subordination. He also talks about specialized knowledge, and meaning that you are hiring people who are specialized in that field, and you're not giving these preordained factors to individuals, so that way that particular position lives on and doesn't live and die with a preordained position. It talks about rules being in place and the need for these rules to maintain continuity, and then also incorporate impartiality as well. There's a very poignant statement that he identifies on page 63, Roman numeral 2, that there exists a principle of office, hierarchy, and levels of authority, where there's an ordered system of super and subordination, with lower offices are under the supervision of high offices. He goes on to say that through the complete development of this type, office hierarchy is monocratically ordered. And this system can be found in city government. Right here I'm providing you with a hierarchy tier from the city of Placentia, showing the city administrator and all our elected officials at the top, and how it kind of corresponds moving down the hierarchy chart. At the bottom, you can see myself as the planning manager with the development services director above me, but all relegated to speaking to the city administrator, who is our direct supervisor. And lastly, Mary Park Follett. Mary Follett takes a very holistic approach to administration. She understands that people are people. She understands the psychology and human nature of individuals, and understands that there's habits that are innate in people and that need to be changed through training. Also identifying things like changing habits, and identifying things like my favorite quote that I like to use is that calm waters do not make good soldiers. Training is key. Also, identifying things like tone of delivery can really make an impact and a perception of a specific employee or a manager. She quotes, "It will do little good merely to get intellectual agreement. Unless you change the habit patterns of people, you have not really changed your people." And that's on page 76 of the workbook. Mary Follett and her philosophy is emblematic in city government. In my city, we identify that the city are the people, and we work for the people, and we need to change their minds. We employ things like a public charrette meetings for controversial projects. We do not just take orders and then create legislation based upon those orders. We will meet with the public in a very interactive setting, where we'll collaborate with the community members, stakeholders, and experts in order to come to a viable solution and be able to recommend that solution to the elected bodies. Thank you for sitting through my presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please leave one for me in the discussion board, or if you don't want to leave one in the discussion board, you can absolutely ping me at the following email address. Thank you.